As Mark cruised down the desolate highway, his mind wandered to tales of ghostly hitchhikers haunting lonely roads. He scoffed at the notion, dismissing it as nothing more than folklore. But as he'd rounded a bend, he spotted a figure standing by the roadside, thumb outstretched in a familiar gesture. Curiosity piqued. Mark slowed down and rolled down his window. The hitchhiker was a young woman, her features obscured by the darkness. She spoke softly, her voice tinged with desperation, begging for a ride to the next town. Against his better judgment, Mark relented and unlocked the passenger door. The woman climbed in, offering a feeble thanks before falling silent. Unease settled over Mark as he stole glances at his mysterious passenger. Her presence seemed to cast a chill over the car, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As they approached the outskirts of town, Mark glanced over to offer directions, only to find the seat beside him empty. Panic surged through him as he slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. He searched frantically, but the hitchhiker had vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a lingering sense of dread. Shaken but determined to continue his journey, Mark pressed on, his foot heavy on the accelerator. But as he sped down the highway, a sudden flash of light ahead caught his attention. Squinting through the darkness, he saw what appeared to be a roadblock up ahead, barricades stretching across the asphalt like skeletal fingers. Frowning, Mark slowed his pace, heart hammering in his chest as he approached the obstruction. But as he drew closer, the roadblock seemed to waver and shift, morphing into a swirling mass of darkness that engulfed the road ahead. Panic surged through Mark as he slammed on the brakes, skidding to a stop just inches from the edge of the void. Frozen in terror, Mark watched as shadows writhed and twisted within the abyss, whispering promises of untold horrors. With trembling hands, he threw the car into reverse, his tires spinning wildly as he fought to escape the clutches of the darkness. With a sickening lurch, the car broke free, hurtling backward down the highway as the phantom roadblock dissolved into nothingness behind him. As dawn broke on the horizon, Mark's nerves were frayed and his mind reeled from the night's terrors. Desperate for respite, he pulled into a rest stop nestled on the outskirts of a sleepy town. The air was heavy with the scent of pine and earth, but beneath the tranquil facade lurked something sinister. Ignoring the warning bells ringing in his mind, Mark stepped out of the car and made his way towards the dimly lit building. But as he entered the rest stop, he was greeted by an eerie silence that seemed to suffocate the air itself. Unease prickled at his skin as he wandered through the empty corridors, the sound of his footsteps echoing like a funeral dirge. Just as he was about to turn back, Mark heard a soft whimper emanating from the shadows. Heart pounding, he followed the sound to a secluded corner where he found a young boy huddled against the wall, his eyes wide with fear. Without hesitation, Mark scooped the child into his arms, vowing to keep him safe from whatever horrors lurked in the darkness. But as they made their way back to the safety of the car, Mark felt a chill run down his spine. The rest stop seemed to shift and warp around them, its walls pulsating with a malevolent energy that threatened to consume them whole. With a cry of terror, Mark broke into a sprint. The child clutched tightly to his chest as they flooded into the welcoming embrace of the dawn. With the rising sun casting long shadows behind him, Mark's resolve wavered. He knew he couldn't simply drive away from the horrors he had witnessed. They lingered like a stain on his soul. Determined to uncover the truth behind the night's terror, he set his sights on the Whispering Woods, a place rumored to be haunted by vengeful spirits and lost souls. As he navigated the winding roads that led to the heart of the forest, a sense of foreboding settled over him like a suffocating blanket. The trees loomed overhead, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, beckoning him into their embrace. But Mark refused to be swayed by fear. He was driven by a need to understand the darkness that had consumed him. As he ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew thick with the scent of decay, and strange whispers echoed through the undergrowth. Mark pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest as he searched for answers amidst the shadows. It was then that he stumbled upon an ancient, dilapidated cabin nestled in a clearing. The structure seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its windows glowing with an otherworldly light. Steeling himself, Mark approached the cabin, his footsteps echoing like thunder in the stillness of the forest. As he crossed the threshold, he was met with a scene of unimaginable horror. The walls were adorned with grotesque symbols and sigils, their twisted shapes pulsating with an otherworldly energy. And in the center of the room stood a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes burning with an unholy fire. With a voice like a chorus of screams, the figure spoke, revealing the true nature of the darkness that had consumed the night. It was a force older than time itself, a malevolent entity that fed on the fear and despair of those unfortunate enough to cross its path. But Mark refused to succumb to the darkness. With a cry of defiance, he brandished a makeshift weapon, channeling every ounce of courage he possessed. With a deafening roar, he struck out at the figure, shattering its form and banishing it back into the depths of the forest. As the darkness receded, Mark knew that his journey was far from over. The Whispering Woods held many secrets, and he was determined to uncover them all. And though the road ahead was fraught with peril, he knew that he would face it head-on, armed with nothing but his wits and his unyielding resolve.